Welcome to Precalculus online summer course. This is the starting place, is to first go to Brightspace and log into your class. You should see it in your list of courses when you're in Brightspace. And so let's run through each one of these activities. Now this is a fully asynchronous course, meaning there's no scheduled time for any kind of lectures. That's built into the videos that I have. There'll be quizzes, there's extra credit, there's a midterm, and there's a final. And they're all set up with certain dates when things appear and disappear. So you got to be very mindful of the dates. Now let's begin with the start here. This just is the intro. You will see an introduction from the Center for Academic Technology, which I probably never corrected, whatever. I put in this video, you can watch it again, it'll be here. Making math equations, this is a link on how to use, if you want to go into the discussion part and put actual equations in there using Brightspace's formatting, so that you don't have to kind of guess what they look like if you want to ask a question that way, or even email questions. Here's the textbook, the PDF format. If you want other options, you can go here. You can just click on it and it'll bring up the OpenStax. It's perfectly free. You don't need to add anything. This is an old textbook, a little illegal, but it's there just in case. These are some extra problems on optimization, one of the harder sections in the course. This is kind of a cheat sheet. It has trig identities and stuff that you'll need at one point to the second, not really to the second half. Algebra reference sheet has all sorts of algebra formulas. The cheat sheet, this is all the trigs. This is trig stuff. Again, it's kind of the same as the identities one. Then this is tutoring available. It's probably old. I have no idea. I just copied it over. It was given to me before. So check with the tutoring services through the Center of Academic Success and Excellence case. And here's some videos from a couple of guys in Canada that have some good scientifically based research. Here's study tips and hacks and so on. Now, if we go on to each week, you'll see there's a date where they're start dates and end dates. You'll notice that the first 3 weeks all end on the 11th. That's the end of the midterm time. And then the next, so this kind of like the class is divided into two groups, the first 3 weeks, the second 3 weeks. So you need to be mindful of that. So when you go into, now as the instructor, I can go in and look at them, show you what's the stuff. So in first module, week 1, there'll be an outline. There'll be a set of videos. You can even click on the links for the chapter, so you don't even need to download the book. It'll send you right online to whatever chapter you're supposed to be reading. So the intent of this course is that you read the book, you try the problems in the book to practice, and then you watch the videos where what I do is I take like the first 5 or 6 problems in the section, and they kind of generate a discussion, and so I talk about those. So these are my videos I made, and so you can watch the videos on each one of the different sections. And then there's a number of quizzes. Some weeks have more quizzes than others. The first week there's 7 quizzes. Seems like a lot, but they're not necessarily long quizzes. They could be anywhere from 2 questions to 10 questions, depends on it, like they're true and false, or if they're fill in the blank or stuff like that. So the first big thing you have to be careful of is for quizzes. There's a difference between the quizzes, or what I call quizzes. They're more like really homework assignments, because you can stop them and start them and come back. And so my intent is that you look at the quizzes, you go look stuff up, you read about it, and you go try them. And if you're not sure, you go back and look at that sort of thing, right? And so you go back and forth, and you can stop it. Now, when you get to the midterm, which exists in week 3, right? The difference is the midterm will be, once you start it, the timer goes, and you have whatever the time I set. And it's quite a long time, because I kind of took the number of questions that are in the thing and multiplied it by 5 minutes. So it comes out to be like 5 hours or 4 hours. So hopefully, and some of the questions are like multiple choice. So they take seconds. So you should have more than enough time to finish the midterm and the final. So the final and the midterm, once you start it, you have to complete it, right? And but the quizzes are different. Now, in some of the weeks, like in week 2, the second week kind of each half gets a little heavy, so be warned. So you have the sections, there's a bunch of quizzes. Now, there is these discussions, and in these discussions, these are just extra credit. And they're really simple. Don't overthink this. Just watch the video, tell me something that's interesting about it, that makes me realize that you watched the video, say something that the guy says. Math Duel is about the creation of complex numbers, which you study in the first section of chapter 3, so that's connected there. Then we jump into chapter 10 later, and there'll be the conic bread, where you meet Cliff Stoll. Nice guy, met him at a conference once. Crazy as all get out, but in a good way. Anyway, you watch the conic bread one, and then you go to the discussion. Just make you tell me something that you saw in it that you liked or you didn't like, or like, something that make me realize you took the time to watch it and you absorbed it. That's it. That's all you have to do. No, you get a free 10 points, so extra credit there. Take advantage of that. Let's see what else. Then in week 3, you get some more quizzes and videos, and then the midterm. Be careful, the start date and the due date. Now, the one thing I did for all of the quizzes is there's a start date and an end date. Those are hard. They start at a certain time, they end at a certain time. The due date is flexible. The due date is to kind of remind you, this is when I better have it done by. But if something happens, like I had to go to work that night and I couldn't get everything finished, I have maybe a little more time to finish it. So the end dates ends the first half of the class. So even though the due date, like here, you can see it looks like it's June 1st, it really, you have until the 11th to finish it. But what you don't want to do is be trying to cram in the midterm and all the quizzes. So you want to maintain that regular, when's the due date? If I get this done by now, then I'm good, right? That's when I have to try to get everything done by. And then it'll go in the same thing in the second half, but it starts over. So June 11th, first half of the class is done, second half, same thing, same process. Go in, watch the videos, read the book, try the problems, then try some quizzes for homework. You can see the first week, there's only 3, it's really simple, but then you hit the second week of the second, third. So the second weeks are always like you get blasted with stuff. And then, so there's lots to do. There's even more extra credit in here, I think. Yeah, the beautiful trig videos in here. These two are pretty tricky problems that I just kind of made up. They're crazy. One's a kind of a criminal justice thing where you're shooting at a wall, and the other one is you're a fire spotter, and you have to figure out how far the planes have to fly and how many trips they can make to drop the water on the. So like a forest fire thing. And then the last week, of course, the one thing different here is that compared to the midterm, I have it set like Sunday at 1 o'clock. Here it's Friday at 11:30 because that's the end of the course. It's done. The class is over. No going beyond that sort of thing. And so you got to be mindful of the dates. You got to be mindful of the due dates. The due dates aren't hard, but they are set there to say, be done with this stuff by now if you don't want to get so far behind that you can't finish the course. And that's kind of the important thing, is stick with the due dates as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be kind of maintained. You hit those hard dates, it's over. Done. And so if you haven't got it done by, the first 3 weeks, if you haven't got all the stuff done by the 11th, yeah, too bad. And then if you're not done by the 30th, that's just the way it goes. Okay, so that's kind of how the course goes. I think it's pretty straightforward. Last year, the first time I did this, I should say, I had fixed office hours, but I think because it's so asynchronous that it doesn't really work very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take requests for if you need to talk to me by Zoom. Just email me, sanfordm@felician.edu, and I will respond, like if I'm not in the middle of doing something, like in a meeting or whatever, but I'll eventually respond, and we'll set up a time and we can do a Zoom we can do a Zoom thing. I have document cameras, so you can see me write, and so. But there's also the tutoring center, and they do virtual tutoring. Check with them about that kind of stuff as well. And yeah, the one thing, I'll say this again because this is the most important thing, and somebody always forgets this part of it. The final and the midterm are different from the quizzes in the sense that there is a fixed time limit. Once you start it, and it's even just to take a quick look, you start the timer. And the timer starts and you go until the time ends, and that's it. So you got to be careful about that, and I'm warning you, big red flashing lights, boop, boop, boop. You got to make sure that you have that in mind, that's happening. So good luck, and email me with any questions, and have a good summer, and be successful in this. I like giving A's, but I shouldn't say I don't give them. You earn them. And have a good summer.